What is up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones, sitting right down the way for me on the Cameron crazy side of Cameron Indoor Stadium, following North Carolina's 84-79 win over Duke on this very court right here in front of us, AJ. Obviously a massive win for the Tar Heels, clinching that outright ACC regular season title and completing the season sweep of Duke. We'll talk about that a little bit later on when we talk about what this win means ahead of the ACC tournament. Let me run through some stats real quick. Obviously, Cormac Ryan led the way. Massive game, career high, 31 points, 8 for 12 from the floor, 6 for 8 from 3. Harrison Ingram, 14 points, 10 boards. RJ Davis, 9 points. Armando, 9 points, 8 rebounds. So really Cormac and Ingram leading the way in terms of points for the Tar Heels. But AJ, only one place to start, man. Cormac Ryan, just absolutely huge from start to finish. And we'll start with the beginning of the game because he hit those 3 big games early within a 95-second span that took Carolina up big. He was a massive factor in Carolina jumping out to that early big lead that, if we're being honest, in hindsight, Duke really never ultimately recovered from. I know they cut it close a few times. I know it became the game in the second half, but that, for me, even John Shire said the same. That was the difference in the game today for sure. So I know you've seen a lot of games in this building, AJ, not only just Duke games, but Carolina Duke games in this building. And I think that one goes up there with some of your all-time performances when you talk about Carolina players. He was fantastic tonight.
I still think, we're going to hit on this in the next one, I still think the 9-1 run in the second half was the most key stretch of the game. And by the way, Cormac was the guy who got the scoring going in that run by hitting a couple free throws. But I agree, because you got to come in here and start well. If you don't start well, even really good teams, you could get swallowed in this place. I've seen so many teams come in here and literally get swallowed whole. Mm-hmm. And the Tar Heels didn't do that because they started out really well. Cormac hit those 3 threes, 2 of them right here. I'm 15 feet maybe from the spot where he hit those first 2 on that 3 of those threes in that little stretch. They shot them with so much confidence, moxie. It gave the team just a lot of juice. They were playing at an exceptionally high level during that stretch. It was other guys too, not just Cormac, because other guys were scoring. In fact, they had 7 Tar Heels score like in the first maybe 7 minutes of the game. Mm-hmm. They all had 2 next to their name. Cormac had 9 for a while. And man, I'll tell you, I told people, a lot of people complain about it for a while. And I said, look, just let the guy get comfortable. Let him play it out. Just let him play ball with these guys. Let him find his comfort zone with them. There was a comfort zone earlier this year, and he does a lot of things to help his team win aside from just hitting 3-pointers. But to be the guy that can rein them, yeah, that's another level of comfort that you have to achieve. And look at his stat lines over the last month. He's hitting threes. He was 41%, 40% from 3 over the last month or so coming in. So he shot that up pretty high after tonight. And he's a guy who now has a 30-point game under his belt with the Tar Heels. So you're getting big-time performances from different guys, which is what we've talked about. We did in our show the other day, Jacob. Yeah. They have so many different guys that you have to be aware of. And they need Cormac or Harrison to go off, I think, to complement everything else. When that happens, they advance. They're in survive an advanced situation moving forward. And when one of the 2 of them has a big game, Carolina will advance. Even tonight, if you would have awakened this morning and someone said, man, you're a Carolina fan, I hate to tell you, but RJ and Armando are going to each score just 9 points tonight. RJ won't go to the free throw line. You probably would have gone to the ABC store and stocked up, because you would have thought you would have to drown your sorrows tonight. And that didn't happen because Harrison went 14 and 10. He did Harrison stuff. Cormac did his thing, played with fire, sticking his tongue out, getting into the skin of Duke. Carolina's got 2 screw you guys. We're going to do a screw you pod next week. They got 2 screw you guys, like off the chart screw you guys. And they're both productive. And they were the 2 best players tonight. And Cormac, with the historic performance, I was talking to somebody who's part of the program a little while ago. You actually overheard this conversation. I said, It was in this building this time 2 years ago when the Brady Manic Love Fest really started. People liked him, they wanted him to do well, but the guy that everybody fell in love with in March and early April wasn't quite viewed that way by the fan base. I'm thinking that Cormac Ryan Love Fest started tonight. And he could do a lot of the things that Brady can. He's not an interior player. He's not going to defend the post, but he defends the perimeter. And he's got a very quick, he had 6 threes tonight. They were all catch and shoot threes.
Yeah.
Catch, shoot, catch, shoot, catch, shoot. The rhythm, the routine, the hours spent over the years just working on that, fine-tuning it, like Tony Gwynn taking BP before his last game ever, just trying to get a little bit better every time. And it's some nights Cormac's 1 for 9, and some nights he's 6 for 8, and he was 6 for 8 here. And we're seeing more multiple three-pointer games for him now than we saw earlier this year. He's playing better and better and better. He was very happy afterward. He's not overly expressive, but I thought that he was to a degree tonight, and you saw his expressiveness on the court. We had the students sitting right behind us, and they started the game screaming at Armando to get a job and screaming at Cormac to get a job. Yeah, but I will tell you, and Bryant Balcom was sitting next to me, and he may have heard this as well. One of the camera crazies at one point said, "Damn, that dude's just good." And they stopped screaming at him, stopped telling him to get a job. They stopped screaming at him. They were focusing on RJ. Mm-hmm. Someone yelled at Harrison to get a job. It's like, guys, he's a true third-year guy.
Pretty good. Yeah. You gotta love it.
Cormac shut up the crazies tonight.
Oh yeah, and he's doing a lot of that tonight too. I mean, you could tell he was feeling it from minute one, and the whole team was. We'll talk about that later. But I was sitting. Oh yeah, of course it did. Of course it did.
It lifted the team, and it gave them a ton of juice on the bench. Some of the players, Harrison said that just the whole team it lifted them to another emotional level, like an emotional meaning. Combine emotion and confidence, where you have sort of feeling of invincibility. They almost felt invincible. It wasn't super easy to close out. That's another topic for another day, and I'm not alone in thinking that. But they have led Duke for all but 16 seconds in the 80 minutes of the 2 games they played Duke. They're a better basketball team. They've got older dudes that can go off. Duke's got mostly younger dudes that can go off, and I thought that some of that edge and experience and maturity showed tonight, and it began with the oldest guy on the court, who wasn't wearing a zebra shirt, hitting threes and getting this thing started.
I apologize for the background noise too, guys. It might as well be a high school gym we're in, and there's people just cleaning up absolutely everywhere around.
It's a great gym.
I mean, it's cool,
it's
but
a great gym.
There's probably a high school gym in this state that's bigger than this one, if we're being completely honest. So great gym though. History here is amazing. Awesome place to watch a game.
New Hanover High School in Wilmington's similar to it.
I believe it. I mean, it's like
Brogdon,
an awesome place.
Broughton, excuse me, not Brogdon. Broughton.
Yeah, Broughton. Yeah. Oh, huge high school area.
Anyway,
but yeah, there's a lot of cleanup crew around here right now, is what I'm trying to say. It echoes in here. So we'll keep it moving in this one though, AJ. And let's talk about that run that you.
I'll get closer to the microphone. How about that?
Yeah. I'm trying. The
problem is people have to see me. They have to see more of me.
It's the background noise too, because you got the cleanup crew everywhere and slamming brooms.
Seeing more of me is not a winning formula here when you're trying to get people to watch videos. Just turn away and listen. How about that?
Yeah, I hope people do. I think they probably do, if we're being honest, because we ain't nothing special to look at. I'll tell you that for free. But you mentioned that run earlier in this podcast. I'll call it our 3 things video here. 16:59 left in the second half. 43-42 North Carolina. 9-1 run after that. Eventually turned into a 13-4 run for North Carolina. Absolutely changed the game in this one. It felt like it was interesting because Carolina didn't come out of the halftime break great. Duke kind of got back into it. I believe cut it to 3 before I think Carolina called a timeout. I'm looking through a camera lens the whole game, so I'm trying to recollect and piece everything together, excuse me. And it felt like the momentum had kind of shifted back to Duke. And I remember thinking, this game could get interesting. It ultimately did get interesting. But that run right there, AJ, that like we just talked about, 16:59, 9-1 run, turns into 13-4, absolutely massive. Shifted the momentum back in Carolina's favor. I was sitting right over here. I was sitting on the baseline taking photos 10 feet from the Carolina bench. So I could see inside the huddle. I couldn't quite hear it because it's so loud in here. But the emotion inside the huddle after that, AJ, all game, I should say. I thought Carolina was locked in for minute one and fired up for minute one. But the emotion and excitement and just how amped up Carolina was after that run, when I believe Duke called a timeout at some point, or it was a TV timeout again, I can't remember specifically, absolutely changed the momentum in this build. Felt like the air kind of got sucked out of it again. And again, I know it came down to the wire. It was tight down the wire, but that run in the second half, like you mentioned earlier on, I think is really what helped propel Carolina to victory after that massive start. Gets a little bit closer and to start the second half, and again that run just took it away, and Duke was never really able to recover fully. So that was huge in the second half.
Yeah, it was 9-3 in the second half, Duke, when Roach hit that three. And this building, that was the loudest this building got tonight. Mm-hmm. And it kind of looked like, well, okay. I mean, I've seen this before a million times, not just in these games, but I've covered over 200 Duke games in this building when they weren't playing North Carolina. And I've seen it happen millions of times. They're kind of not playing that great. They're trailing, and all of a sudden, boom, they hit a run out of the gate. The second half changes the game. So it looked like that was possibly happening. But Cormac drove to the basket, got a foul, hit the 2 free throws, and then it happened. And then that was when Jalen Withers had another bucket in that stretch. Seth Trimble with the beautiful pitch ahead to Cormac in transition. And what Carolina did was they kind of said, no, hold on a second. No, that's not happening. I think that the maturity level of Carolina, I think the Carolina's unwavering focus, their ability to not get too down, and really other than a couple times this year not get too high, I think that showed up right there. And they responded. And they didn't respond with Armando did have a bucket in that stretch, but RJ didn't score in that stretch. This team knows how to find people to score when they need to score. They've only lost 3 games since Kentucky, and honestly, you go back to Kentucky, they had a chance to send that game in overtime in the last possession of the game. Didn't get it done. Then the other 3 games they've lost since then, which is nearly 3 months ago, they lost by a point at Georgia Tech. Fouls called. RJ's free throws. That's not a loss. The hangover game against Clemson after beating Duke, they're down 17-2. They tie it at 70. At 3 minutes left, they don't close well. And then they go to Syracuse. And Syracuse, which is a second-tier program, a historical program in college basketball, best shooting night in half a century. And Carolina has the ball down 4 with 2 minutes left. So this club knows how to get things done, even when it's not playing real well, even when its star isn't scoring, even when Armando is missing dunks like he did tonight for the 3rd straight game. They still, and by the way, he's not fazed by it. He didn't 3 years ago, he would have seen the look on his face going back down the court. Defense. He went down and played great defense right after that. He was bodying up a lot, so it didn't faze him at all. People love to ride him for that, but whatever. That was a pretty contested attempted dunk. That 9-1 run, to me, showed you why this team could cut down the Nets. That was a cut down the Nets run. That was, you're Duke, we're in your building, you guys have been playing your best basketball this season of late, but you know what? You're not us. That's what that was. And they're not. I think most people coming in this game believe that Carolina's a better team. I don't think they're much, much better. I think, what did I tell you before the game? I said, when Duke was at Carolina a month ago, 5 weeks ago, I thought that Carolina was this much better. Separation was I thought the separation was this coming into this game. I think it moved up a little bit more now. Mm-hmm. And that 9-1 run, that was muscle flexing stuff. That was Papa. My dad's going to get mad because I use all kinds of cliches. That was the spinach. They chugged spinach and flexed. Popeye. I could use all kinds of cliches. I could cliche the hell out of this thing, but that was an impressive run. That is one of those. That's the stuff that you do in mid-March, late March, early April, and they did it here. And I think the circumstances, given the moment and the environment, it's probably as hard to do here as will any situation they deal with moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was It was huge. I thought Carolina looked fantastic tonight. And again, I think the biggest thing for me was someone who was sitting so close to the bench and could see inside the huddle was, again, how locked in Carolina was. And I was in the John Shire press conference in the media room, and he kind of said the same thing. He just said he basically said, I felt like Carolina started a lot better than we did. They were ready to go. We weren't. And one of the things he referenced was diving for 50-50 balls. He said, I thought Carolina was flying around the court, diving, winning a lot of those diving on the floor kind of plays for loose balls. And again, I think that showed Carolina's kind of attention to detail to come into that, because into a game like this, you kind of expect the opposite. Duke's already lost in Chapel Hill, playing for a share of the ACC regular season title, senior night, and they have a good amount of seniors on this team, senior night in Cameron Indoor. And Carolina's the aggressor from minute one, and they carried it out through the whole game. So I think they deserve a massive, massive amount of credit for that.
Let me throw in a quick kudos to Jalen Withers, because in that 9-1 run, part of it was a block at the rim. Withers blocked a shot on one end, I think got an offensive rebound on the other end and put it back and scored. He had 4 baskets tonight. I think they were all offensive rebounds. He had 3 tip-ins. One at the buzzer that closed the first half, and then that one was his only non-tipping, but it was off an offensive rebound on the other end. So Jalen Withers in 11 minutes, he had 8 rebounds. It was 8 rebounds and 8 points. I think there's 7 rebounds and 8 points in 11 minutes. Unbelievable, and had a block shot, and gave them a crap load of vitality. And if you're Duke, and this guy comes off the bench, Jalen Withers is a grown man, dude. You've been around him. He's a grown ASS man, and he bouncy as hell, and he was percolating tonight, man. And if you bring in him, he does that, and you bring in Trimble, and he plays the way he did, hitting that jumper after getting a poke in his eye, and even Jalen Washington only played 6 minutes, but he had his roll to the rim on that dish from RJ for the dunk was beautiful, perfect.
Yeah, it was,
and he helped them. So the bench outscored Duke's bench 14-9, I think it was, or 14-7. I think TJ Power had some late points for Duke, put in there just to score. So kudos to Jalen Withers, man. That was that. If they could get like half that from him moving forward, that's part of the layering process of championship stuff.
I'm glad you said Trimble too, because it kind of, I was thinking about it when I was sitting baseline today, and Cadeau's been good this year, and he's especially late this season has some really good moments, and he's really good offensively. But if there's anything you're going to give him criticism for, it's defense. He can be exposed at times offensively. I think he gets called for a lot of
fouls too much.
It's college basketball for you. I think some of them are soft, but it's college basketball.
It could be, but fouls are.
Yeah, it's you know how I feel about officiating. They let him play today, so I won't talk about that. But for me, the perfect. If you're talking about like a yin and yang a little bit, you got Cadeau who comes out, who comes in Trimble, super athletic, a lot more athletic than Cadeau is, defensively fantastic, and he's been good offensively this season too. It's not like in the past where maybe Trimble, he comes in defensively a little bit and does some nice things for you, but he's not really providing anything offensively. He hasn't been that player. He has provided offensive firepower for North Carolina this year. So to me, just those two guys, the fact that you can sub them kind of in and out, which was a big thing that Carolina did tonight, I thought made a major difference in this game, because there's no drop off. If anything, it's like, okay, I'm gonna bring Trimble in to help out defensively. I want him to kind of, I'm gonna put him on this guy because he's getting a little bit hot, and then he can also get out in transition, hits a point, diving on the floor. So I just thought he was fantastic tonight as well. It's great to have guys like that on your bench that come in, especially in this environment, and provide positive minutes. You have to have that to win here, AJ. You just do. So
Trimble, I'm trying to think. Defensively, I thought Toronto defended the perimeter really well in the first half, and Trimble getting some extra minutes, I think, was part of that. Coming into this game, Proctor, Roach, and McCain had combined to shoot around 44% in the last 6 games. Combined, they were 2 for 8 at halftime from the perimeter.
Yeah,
and I think part of that was the extra minute. Carolina wasn't always switching. I thought, RJ was staying right on Roach, wasn't switching. He was going over top of screens at times. And then when Seth was out there, they're okay with Seth switching, because if you get the ball to someone and if Seth switches onto that guy, it's an advantage for Carolina most of the time. I thought, Duke hit more threes, and those guys hit higher percentage of threes in the second half. They ended up doing okay, but they didn't get a ton of them off. But it was the first half I just thought was so key that Carolina established so many things that even after Duke cut it to 1, like we talked about here a few minutes ago, when Carolina hit that 9-1 run, it reset everything back into the first half. That's it. It reset everything back into the first half, and it kind of carried the rest of the way. Duke was playing catch up. You could tell the crazies were yelling. They were more yelling at the refs and stuff like that than they were trying to uplift their team. They knew that their team was getting beaten, and they knew they were getting beaten again by a team that's just better.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I agree. I think Carolina's just a better team, and I think they've proved that in these 2 games this season. But AJ, let's talk about what this means real quick before we head out of here. Outright regular season champions. Big accomplishment for this team, especially when you look at what happened last year and the roster rebuild that went on the offseason. I think Hubert Davis and this team deserves a ton of credit. Season sweep over Duke's completed as well. I know Carolina fans will absolutely be loving that. Go ahead and like the video below because Carolina sweep Duke. Let's just get. I want 300 at least on this one. Come on, guys.
400. I want 400.
Yeah, 400 is. Yeah, I want 1,000. Heck, like it is as many views as I know this is going to get. We could get 1,000, but let's see if that can happen. Number 1 seed in the ACC tournament next week as well. Me and Bryant were talking about it. I don't know if this is confirmed, but either playing the winner of Virginia Tech and Florida State is what we understand. So again, I may be wrong on that, but looking into it quickly with Bryant, that's what we found. So if I am wrong, you can blame it on.
That's a bit. I don't know who Duke's going to play with. That's a big difference probably between what the 2 seed plays.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, but AJ, it's a big win for the Tar Heels tonight for a number of different reasons. That's all I'll say about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw a bunch of stuff out here. So I put something out the other day and got it confirmed again. Talking to someone affiliated with the program after the game. The last time Carolina outright won the regular season ACC title was 2017. They won the title, the national championship. They did it in 2016. They got to the national championship, lost on a buzzer beat. They did it in 2012. And if Kendall Marshall doesn't break his wrist, they probably meet Kentucky in the title game. Who knows what would have happened? But maybe Carolina gets them back from a loss earlier in the year. 2011, they did it, and they got to the regional final with a young team. 2009, they did it, and that's the last time they did it by multiple games, and they ran away with the national title. You kind of get where I'm going with this? That's what this team has achieved, and what they've also done, in addition to getting the 1 seed in the ACC tournament, more important, I think this locks them into Charlotte. They could lose Thursday by 20 points. They're going to Charlotte.
It's a good point.
So,
it's a good point.
And I think they're the lock for Charlotte now. Like Tennessee or Duke might be there. Depends on if Duke wins in D.C. If Tennessee can win in the SEC tournament, perhaps Tennessee can get the other spot there. But Carolina's in. They're in Charlotte. We don't know what region they're going to be in. It won't be in the East because UConn's got it. They won't be in the Midwest. It'll probably be the West if they have a chance to win a 1 seed. They still can get a 1 seed if Arizona doesn't win the Pac-12 tournament, and if Carolina gets to maybe the finals or something like that, they can still get the 1 seed out there. Either way, they're going to be 1-2 with Arizona out west. It's the most likely scenario now, and because of what they did here. And another thing that's really important, Arizona won in this building too. So Carolina needed, if they're going to jump Arizona and be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, they had to win where Arizona won. You know what I mean? They had to come here and do this. So how about Duke? Duke lost to Caleb Love and to North Carolina this year. 0-2. 0-2 to Caleb Love and North Carolina. That's just cruel.
Yeah.
That's cruel.
AJ, let me throw this in real quick. I was talking to Brendan Marks after the game, who writes for The Athletic, covers Duke and North Carolina, and he was saying, I've heard it louder in here, and I was like, well, what game was it? He said, honestly, the Arizona game was louder, and I was like, interesting, because I've only been in here. It's only my second or third game covering a game in here. I didn't think it was mind-numbingly loud today at any point. It got pretty loud at times, but
43-42 it was.
He's been in the building for every game this year, just about, if not every single game. Well, the Arizona game was louder. So.
When Roach hit that three, it was the loudest it got. It was very loud in here, but I think part of it was the vibe I got from the crazies behind. I didn't get elbowed in the head once. The vibe I got was Carolina just sucked the air out of the place right away, and they just didn't feel confident they were going to win. They were hoping to win, but there was not a lot of confidence. A lot of the trash talking just kind of subsided over time to Carolina, at least in my section. I know there was somebody somewhere else in the stands that was really getting to Cormac, and Cormac may have pointed at him or stuck his tongue at him or something like that, but at least that's what I've been told. I didn't see it. This team has achieved a lot. How about RJ and Armando? How about Armando, man? He shows up, they go 14-19. the year was a disaster. Then the next year, it's kind of a lot of issues, and Roy retires, and then Hubert comes in. They get to a title game, they 15-point lead at halftime of the national championship game. The next year, the preseason number one don't make the tournament. And now they get the regular season title. And RJ as well, who's been through so much of that stuff. They went through COVID and all that stuff, and they came back here to do that. I've told you guys 1,000 times before. Armando told me straight up, Monahan matters. He said that a couple of years ago. He's determined to be a part of history in this program that is remembered. More than just a flare-up 2 years ago. They want this thing to connect. They want this banner to connect with another banner to connect with another banner. And you got to really feel good for those guys that they've been here. And Hubert said, I want you to have a normal Carolina basketball experience. And they've had that this year. And Hubert's delivered it. Yeah, I've been critical of a couple of things about Hubert, especially slowing things down too early, late in the game. But he's ACC Coach of the Year. And there's no doubt he's ACC Coach of the Year. He's done a hell of a job this year. They've won 6 in a row, by the way.
Yeah.
So he's done a hell of a coaching job. Reconstructing the roster, which is where it began. He did that very, very well. And look, this club, who's punked them this year? I mean, they even fought back against UConn. No one's punked them. No one's going to punk them. If they lose, it's because they shoot 3 for 30 from 3-point range or something like that. Or there's foul trouble or someone gets hurt. So they're not going to get outworked. They're not going to get outsmarted. Certainly on the floor. There are smart teams out there, but they're a very smart team. And they're not going to get overwhelmed by any moments moving forward. This is not going to happen. If they lose, it's because someone beats them. And maybe partly they beat themselves by just not shooting well and foul trouble or something. That's what's going to happen moving forward. They may not lose again. Maybe they might. I think they probably lose in DC, and then
I think so too. Yeah.
Right now, I would say they're Phoenix bound. Is what I would say right now. Of course, that could change, and there's so many things at play that gets a team that far. But they're certainly of that fiber. I think that if you want to say Purdue, UConn, and Houston are better, I'm not going to argue with you right now. But there's nobody else better.
No.
And I would take Carolina if they played Purdue or Houston right now on the neutral side. UConn, I wouldn't. I think UConn's best team. I think they've been the best team all year. They're the best team right now.
I agree.
But what this means is that this team has gotten everything it possibly can out of the regular season. I mean, they're ready.
Yeah.
Who they are. And I've been kind of writing that and talking that here in the last 10 days or so. This is who they are. There's a lot of good stuff, man. So when the truck takes who they are to wherever they go, it's going to be loaded with lots of goodies because this team they just check so many damn boxes. They're so the little things like what you said Shire said. Yeah. You don't see teams coming here and out dive on the floor, Duke.
Mm-mm. It was.
He did.
They're good, man.
They did 2 years ago. The difference is, this was a little bit like 2 years ago, but the difference is this team's better. It's a lot better than 2 years ago.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's got so many weapons. This
team would beat the 2022 Tar Heels 8 out of 10 times.
AJ, I mean, they won relatively convincingly today, and RJ and Armando combined for 18 points. I mean,
9 each.
Like, who wrote that script? I mean, if we would have, like we talked about in the press room, if someone would have told you that before the game, you would have thought Duke won relatively comfortably.
Well, remember, RJ had 2 points at halftime in the first game.
Good point.
And he went for 17 because he hit a bunch of free throws. Yeah. So he hasn't gone all RJ against Duke yet, and Duke has only led Carolina for 16 seconds in 80 minutes of play.
Wild stat. So, that's a wild stat. It really is.
It's a wild stat. There's just a lot of little arrows that are pointing in Carolina in a direction that there are very few other teams can compare to. They're really good.
We'll see what happens, man. I mean, fascinating postseason coming up. I know Carolina fans are going to be excited about it. Obviously, starts in DC next Thursday, but you'll be there and back to your stomping grounds. AJ, you excited about that?
Back to my stomping grounds. That area shaped me, which probably will drive people to never move there if they're thinking about it. So don't raise kids there because they shape them like me. Not just the beautiful physique that I have, but
yeah. Let everybody. You got to warn everybody in DC that you're coming back to town. So.
Hey, I want to leave everybody with this. This team is like a hockey team, by the way. Where they have all these nicknames and stuff, and they create nicknames as the season goes on. Cormac's nickname is Sick in the Head.
Armando tweeted it out.
Yeah,
fantastic tweet.
Armando yelled it when we were talking to Cormac. Armando yelled it at him. And then Harrison started talking. And I was asking Harrison, when did you guys start doing that? I said, was he sick in the head? He said, the first time I met him. He's kicking over water coolers in practice and stuff. I mean, sick in the head. And you need to have a guy who's sick in the head, a couple of them, especially to cut down the nets. And they got a guy who's sick in the head, and he went for 31 tonight.
Got to have guys. I'm glad you said that. Got to have guys like that. Yeah, you got to have guys like that, man. You really do. You really do. Massive game from Cormac. Massive win for North Carolina over Duke, 84-79. Again, Carolina clinching that outright ACC regular season title and completing this season sweep over the Blue Devils. Like the video below. Again, like the video below. I know Carolina fans are excited right now. Why would you not be? Like the video. I want at least, would you say I want at least 300? What did you say? Did you say 500? Is that what you're going for? I think
I want 400 likes in the video, and I want 15 people to sign up as premium subscribers to our site.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It's a great time to do so, guys. Postseason kicking in. Postseason's kicking in. Ton of perks of being a premium subscriber. $8.33 a month. Links in the description below. AJ has not changed that price in almost 10 years now. So go get signed up, guys. Just do it. Just do it. So many perks. And again, you support the channel if you enjoy the content.
And now's the best time to do it because look what's coming up the next month.
Exactly, man. Couldn't have said any better there, AJ. We'll go ahead and get out of here. It is funny that as soon as we finish up, it's probably the quietest it's been in the last 30 minutes. So welcome to TarHeelIllustrated.com and our Three Things Postgame podcast, because that's what you get here, especially in a place like this when there is absolutely no other alternative than to sit out here on this court.
All the TV people are doing their stuff. All the TV people are doing their stand-ups. That's probably why.
And they got the fancy, $2,000 microphones that we don't have, and the $20,000 cameras that we don't have either. But hey, we're banging it out just the same.
We're banging it out.
I think we can go ahead and wrap this one up. I've been Jacob Turner.
This was a gritty effort on our part, right?
Yeah, it's a gritty effort from the Tar Heels and a gritty effort from TarHeelIllustrated.com on yet another three-thing post-game pod. Again, appreciate y'all watching. Like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell too, guys. We'll see y'all next time. Thanks.